Hey, this is Notser, and this is the Easy Replay of the Week. Tomtom Tim Trim is in the Tier 10 US Battleship, Montana, a lot of T's. It's on the map Hotspot, and the game is pretty awesome. But first, if you are interested in submitting a replay, please send it to notserreplay@gmail.com. Please include the replay file, in-score screenshots, 1 to 2 sentence summary, and also include the ship name in the title of the email. That really helps out. I get so many great games, it's just impossible to choose. So I just try and fill in gaps in my content. I tried to get a good Montana game. A lot of interest in that particular video, but we just couldn't get it. It's really hard to work with if you're playing against good players and you need to carry. The Montana just doesn't have the armor to withstand the enemy Yamatos, for example, and there are a lot of Yamatos in this game. If you cannot submit an amazing replay, maybe a funny or amazing moment, just add a timestamp for when it occurs in the video so it's much easier for me to get to that moment. I get so many emails, so I really appreciate the interest, and let's see if Tomtom Tim Trim can take on the enemy. So there's an enemy Shimakaze, popping a smoke, hiding. Ooh, enemy destroyer sent out. That's a nice scout by the cruiser, I believe. His aircraft was overhead, so don't need to worry about that. It appears that most of the enemy who spawned on the western side of the map is interested in pushing the 2 line. There's a couple battleships, a couple cruisers, the destroyer that we saw. There are absolutely no aircraft carriers in this game. What year is this? So Tom engages. Whoa! Okay, that's way better than I've ever done. 28,000 points of damage, 2 citadels, and it's only the front part of a ship. Oh, friendly finishes off the enemy cruiser, and yeah, Tom gets a lot of damage, but no kill. Friendly cruiser died in much the same way, just 5 or 10 seconds earlier to the enemy battleships. So you want to be careful, and Tom, we don't want to run into our battleship friend. That Yamato is bow on, because that's what they do at Tier 10. They just stay bow on, they can absorb tons of damage, and they have access to 66% of their total damage. And you gotta deal with it. You gotta fire HE at those suckers and set them on fire. You're not really gonna penetrate, especially in Montana. Montana's not going to penetrate the bow of the Yamato. But the HE fires that you can set and start burning them down, that's really what you need to do to a bow-on battleship. Now, this enemy, North Carolina, is angled in such a manner that the Citadel is not going to really happen. He needs to soften his angle against Tom in order to succeed, but Tom chooses to fire all his guns. Maybe he'll get a little bit of damage. And that's a little bit of damage, about 8k. There's also an enemy destroyer just west of their position. Don't want to be anywhere near torpedoes that might be coming his way. That enemy Shimakaze should have their torpedoes ready. It wasn't too long ago that they came across the flank of the friendlies, and I don't think they did much damage. However, they certainly influenced where the team was sailing. Tom's going to engage the North Carolina, and he's going to fire all his guns. He's showing a little bit too much of his side to the enemy Atago, but it's only an Atago. That's not really a big deal. It's a bigger deal if the enemy Yamato decides to show up, and it looks like he might show up. You can see the enemy battleship is just behind the island, and he's not perfectly broadside, but he's basically, yeah, now he's moving into a broadside position. Okay, what's his intentions? Is he going to try and fire over the island? That would be an advantage to him. However, Tom is rocking the scout aircraft, which is really fascinating to me. And the enemy battleship probably just assumes they can't engage him. They have no way of safely lining up their shot and firing. He comes to a complete stop with the intent to use the island to his advantage, but Tom has his scout. He pops it and he fires basically at the waterline, trying to get some damage. Oh, wow. He got some damage. He got 40,000 points of damage on that target. Instantly, 50% of his life gone. And that battleship is definitely regretting his choice. You just can't afford to take that much damage. And it's heavy damage, mind you, because it's a citadel. You can't really heal at. Fire damage, easily healable. But big citadels, they really do stick on a battleship. And tomtom's going to try again, but it looks like about 50% of his guns clipped into the island. And as he's moving, or he's basically at 4th speed, as he's moving east, he won't be able to fire over it. The island's just too tall, even with the scout aircraft. So, we're just going to talk about random stuff because there's nothing in range that Tom can engage. I've been playing War Thunder. I can't believe how amazing it looks now. And I've got a great graphics card. I have a great monitor. I know I'm in the 1%, but that game is amazing to look at. And it's really fun. I wish that there were some sort of training scenario so I could practice these scout aircraft. War Thunder has something similar. It's not quite like the real thing. We all know that playing against real players, there's nothing like real players. You go into the co-op and the enemy bots are running into walls and stuff, and this happens in every game, not just this game. So you can't really gauge how effective of a player you are if you just play co-op. Because most players don't play like bots, right? But whenever scout aircraft is up, it's great. It allows you to see over islands. You can get sort of that over-the-shoulder perspective to figure out if the target is turning, how fast they're moving. But you just don't have a lot of time with the benefit of the scout aircraft. Back in closed beta, scout aircraft was just extending the range and you were given the exact same camera. Someone made a mod that took advantage of the scout aircraft camera before it was officially added to the scout aircraft, and I would receive replays within the first 6 months of closed beta and open beta where they were overhead view, and it's like, what is this? This is so broken. It's giving you so much extra information, and it allowed you to practice, and I would love to practice. Now, Tom is going to engage the enemy Atago, and it looks like he's not going to hit him because the enemy cruiser is turning back. Yep. Don't you hate it? You fire, you expect him to head north or commit to a direction, and he completely changes his mind a second after you fire, and you've unloaded everything. In a battleship, you just wait, and you wait, and you wait. Kind of like waiting for this enemy battleship, this Yamato. For whatever reason, he's just south of the island. It looks like he's engaging the friendly destroyer and the friendly cruiser that are just west of Tomtom's position. And he hasn't sustained any extra damage since Tomtom sent in those 2 citadels and a ton of regular rounds. And it looks like he's disinterested in engaging the friendly cruiser. So he's going to try and round that island, and the friendly battleship that's going with Tom knows full well what his intentions are, but Tom wants that Kutuzov. And I don't blame him. Soviet cruisers just make battleship captains mouth water whenever they see them broadside. And he fires every single turret. But I think he actually overshot, yep. And the enemy Soviet cruiser turned in. Didn't hit him except for one little nick, doing very little damage. And he does a quick check. Yamato has moved, okay. The cruiser, it appears to be committed to moving forward. You can see his smokestacks. He might actually be trying to come to a complete stop, maybe move backwards because he knows this is a really bad strategy. And he chooses to fire. Interesting. Okay. Well, Tom thinks he's moving forward. I think he's moving forward. And he leads the target accordingly. Well, he gets a pretty good dispersion on that second turret. Alright, alright. That's satisfactory damage. He destroys one of his front guns. I'm sure that's really frustrating. And by the way, how do you know that, Notser? If you see the outline in black or dark gray of a turret, that means it's completely destroyed. You'll see it a lot for AA guns and secondary guns, and that's what it means. It's completely destroyed. A battleship, for instance, at the beginning of a game will be 100% healthy, but at the end, they've taken so much damage that they're not going to have a lot of their secondaries and their AA to defend themselves. They're more susceptible to AA or a destroyer getting really close because they can't defend themselves quite like they used to. Friendly destroyer does a good job in getting the enemy Soviet cruiser Kutuzov down for the count. And oh, that Yamato is rounding the island in very close proximity to two destroyers. One dies, unfortunately. And this is a little bit of an awkward situation. It looks like either it was a team-wide suggestion that we meet together and push by the enemy team, or they decided to find an opening in the defenses of Tom's team, because it looks like East and West came together in the center. Kind of, yeah, oh man. All the destroyers in the center dead for Tom. Oh, but it's a juicy battleship. Yamato, he hasn't learned. Finish him. Yes! That looks so great, but let's be honest. The enemy battleship was playing completely incorrectly. That's the second time he's shown a perfect broadside to a battleship, and he's paid for that. It doesn't always happen that you get punished for that, but if you consistently do something where you're leaving your weakest point towards the enemy, they're gonna cash in on that failure. And Tom has done it. Tom basically did 80,000 points of damage to that battleship. Maybe, oh, nice. He catches out the destroyer in the open with AP. Doesn't matter. That's one of the advantages of the Montana. The amount of guns are great for low armored targets, because at that point you're already penetrating. You just need to get more on the target. That's sort of why the Mogami was so effective at taking out destroyers, because the 155mm guns just overwhelm them so quickly. Tom sees an enemy North Carolina. He's lagging a little bit on the screen. I'm curious if that's because Tom's lagging or the player is lagging and it's just catching up in the replay. Either way, Tom leads the target, who is perfectly broadside. Don't understand this. Why show your side? But maybe he was able to avoid it. Tom didn't land anything. Look at that cruiser. He just warps across the screen. But he's about to show himself. Tom's ready. He needs his guns to be ready, though. Come on. Reload faster. Guys, you gotta reload faster, okay? We need to kill the target. And he's moving away slightly. Doesn't look like he wants to change his angling. He wants to probably get back to his base. I think Tom missed him. Oh, he clipped him. He didn't do much damage, though. And he completely, he bails and he goes south. Okay. Well, Tom's team should definitely push. There's no reason to stay passive like this. There's only one battleship, and there's two cruisers. The cruisers just can't kill battleships quickly. They have great DPS, but they're terrible at that alpha damage. And unless torpedoes rebalance the game, it should be pretty easy for these battleships to bully their way through the remaining enemy team. So Tom just used his damage control on two fires, which were set with one salvo from the enemy cruiser that's somewhere around the islands on the eastern side of the map. This enemy cruiser, the Atago, is about to show a perfect broadside. Tom unloads. Ooh, that second gun is great. I hope it kills him right there. Ooh, first is bad. Oh, nice. 15. Oh, nice. Okay. Enemy cruiser was also detonated, but let's be honest, he probably was going to die to the guns themselves. That was one of those detonations where it's like, you know what? I already took a ton of damage. There wasn't much left to blow up. And Battleship games are just so weird. I'll play in a battleship, I'll do nothing. Not a citadel, I'll have waterline shots, and they just will disperse away from the target that I'm trying to set. And then other games, you can't miss. It's such a weird experience. Because I play destroyers. I feel like every single destroyer game, I win every single moment, or I lose every single moment. And I think the cruiser is lagging, because Tom is clearly aimed at something, and he fires. And yeah, he was lagging, and Tom catches him. Oh, citadels him. 15,000 points of damage. High caliber Confederate. Tom, you gotta share some of that love, man. I play the Montana. I'll be lucky to get 8 citadels in 8 games, and you're getting 8 in 1 game. That's just not fair. But he's done a great job. Granted, he's had a lot of enemy ships that just don't care about angling. Sometimes I'll be in a game exactly like this. I'll be like, yes, someone doesn't know how to play the game. and then I'll be in another game. Everyone knows exactly how to play the game. All I can do is fire HE and hope that I get some fires, at least in the Montana. And the Yamato, you can basically ignore angling. Not 100% true, but it's a lot easier to penetrate an awkward angled ship. And Tom has his scout aircraft ready to go. He's firing on the North Carolina, who is moving. And it looks like he's not changing his angle, so Tom should be able to get some pretty good damage. No Citadel. Karma Tom. Karma. But he does do 8, 10k, but he loses sight of the enemy. That's not good. Oh, he's back. And he's lagging, clearly, because Tom is trained in on something. Oh, he's gone again. Friendlies are all firing. Oh, friendlies hitting it with a little bit of damage. We'll see how much he actually takes off. Come on, show yourself, North Carolina. This is your end. You cannot avoid your fate. And he's still lagging. So Tom is leading the target. He's unloading all his guns. And will he appear? Yes, he will. And he citadels him. Of course he does. And he gets the 5th and final kill of the game. Good job, tomtom Tim Trim. He earned Confederate, Kraken Unleashed, Devastating Strike, High Caliber, 5 kills, 9 citadels, and did almost 200,000 points of damage. He earned over 500,000 credits. He did 2,802 base XP, which is just fantastic. But a lot of his team did a good job holding back the onslaught of the enemy team, and it felt like the enemy team really didn't have a good strategy. They were just going to brute force their way through the east and the west, and when that didn't happen, they were like, let's go home, show a perfect broadside to all the enemy. And Tom's team was able to capitalize on every single mistake made by the enemy team. Now, we already saw that Tom had nearly 200,000 points of damage done, but he did it in 58 shells. I hope this game was exciting. I know there's a lot of downtime with battleships, but the reward, especially for tomtom Tim Trim, was so high that it was worth the wait every time you were waiting on that reload. So thank you, tomtom Tim Trim, for sharing this replay with us. I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.